Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking through some MLB player props I like on Prizepicks for today for Friday, August the 26th. We do have a big Friday night slate, full 15-game slate tonight, so there are a lot of props to choose from today. A lot stood out on the board when I first took a look at the board on Thursday night when I'm making this video. For the sake of this video, we're just going to share three props that I like at first look, but there was definitely more than three props that I was kind of eyeing. Obviously, I will share more plays today. I will share those over on Patreon. As per usual, guys, if you enjoy these YouTube videos and if they do help you out a lot and if you want to get more Prizepicks plays from me, you can check out my Patreon. It's linked down below in the description. I do give out additional Prizepicks plays over there, usually anywhere from like 3 to 5 additional plays, depending on how many plays there are each slate that I like. I would think for a slate like this with so many games, it'll probably be a day where I give out at least like 4 or 5 additional plays. I give a full in-depth write-up for each play that I provide on Patreon. Also, I give out my favorite 2 plays of the day. So the plays I give out in this YouTube video plus the plays I provide on Patreon, I put them all together, try and figure out of all those plays which are my 2 favorites, which are the 2 that I'm the most confident in, and I give those out on Patreon. You can check that out. It's basically like a 2-pick power entry that you can run, and I think we've cashed our top 2 plays. I think 6 out of the last 8 days. We've cashed our top 2 plays. So if you want to check out the Patreon, as always, it's linked down below in the description. You can see all that I do provide over there. But before we share our 3 plays for today, guys, we can recap the 2 picks we gave out Thursday. Just gave out a 2-pick Thursday. It was, again, not a good slate Thursday. I think it was a 9-game slate. There weren't many options, and I said in Thursday's video that I thought that was a good day to play light. I personally played light on Thursday, and it's a good thing I did because didn't have that great of a day. But we gave out 2 picks. We hit one and then we missed one. The one that we hit was Drew Rasmussen. We took his over fantasy points. He pitched a great game against the Angels. I think he went 5 2/3 innings, had like 9 strikeouts, only gave up 1 run, finished with over 40 fantasy points when we took his projection for over 31.5. And then we took the over on Jameson Taillon's fantasy points. We took that at over 33.5. And Taillon was so close, man. He just needed to get 1 more out in the 6th inning, and then he would have went over his fantasy score because if he would have pitched 6 innings with no runs, 2 strikeouts, and then gotten the win, which is basically what his line was going to be, that would have put him at 34 fantasy points. He had to get 1 more out in the 6th inning, and then the guy came up and hit a home run. And at that point, Taillon he couldn't have went over unless he struck out the next batter. And crazy that Taillon went 6 innings, only gave up 1 run, and just had 2 strikeouts against the Athletics. A team that has a top 10 K rate against right-handed pitching. Taillon only got 2 strikeouts last night, and that was super annoying. But he got the quality start. He got the win. He just needed 1 more strikeout. I mean, 2 strikeouts is just not going to get the job done. And he finished with, I think, 31 fantasy points. Needed 34 from him. Giving up that home run in the 6th inning basically, kept him from cashing out for us. But it is what it is, man. We move on to Friday. Big slate today. And, let's try and bounce back and hit all these 3 plays. But real quickly, hit that like button, guys, if you enjoy these Prizepicks videos, if they help you out a lot. Also, if you have not yet, hit that subscribe button as well. Make sure to check out Prizepicks too if you have not signed up for Prizepicks yet. Definitely get over there, sign up, use promo code NOAH. When you sign up for Prizepicks with my promo code, they will match your first deposit up to $100. And yeah, guys, let's go ahead and talk through these plays for Friday. So all 3 plays I'm targeting for today are going to be some pitcher props, and we're going to be looking at the pitcher fantasy score category once again. So we got 3 pitchers, 3 lefties in some really good matchups here. First guy that I'm liking that I'm going to be taking the over on, or taking for more, I guess you could say, is going to be Tyler Anderson, taking his for him to have more than 36.5 fantasy points. And I targeted this same matchup for Tyler Anderson last time he pitched. Last time he pitched was against this same Marlins team. He went out and pitched a really good game, went 7 innings, allowed 5 hits, only allowed 1 run, got 6 strikeouts, and finished with 40 fantasy points last time he faced the Marlins in his last start. And I think he's pitched against the Marlins again. I thought he pitched against... Okay, so that was his first time against the Marlins this year. So he's only faced the Marlins once this year, but he got 40 fantasy points against them in his last start. But this is a matchup that I've just been targeting all season. The Marlins have by far been the worst team in the league against left-handed pitching. If you look at their numbers, they have the highest strikeout rate in the league against lefties, 28.9%. And all of their offensive numbers are basically dead last. Dead last in batting average, dead last in on-base percentage, dead last in slugging, dead last in OPS, second to last in ISO, and then WRC+, they're dead last in WRC+ as well. They've just been terrible against lefties. They don't have a good lineup. They have a ton of strikeouts in their lineup as well. it's just not a lineup that you really fear. There's strikeouts available up and down this lineup. I mean, really the only low strikeout guys are Rojas. Rojas has a 12% K rate against lefties, and Fortes, he has a 12% K rate against lefties. Look at all these other numbers. 33% for John Birdie, 30% for Aguilar, 38% for Anderson, 50% for Encarnacion. Albeit it's a small sample size, just 10 at-bats, but 50% K rate, 27% for LeBlanc, 47% for Burdick, 29% for Luke Williams. These guys are just striking out a ton, and Tyler Anderson, by no means is he like a great strikeout pitcher. He has just a 20% K rate this season, but he was able to rack up 6 strikeouts last time he faced Miami. He only gave up 1 run. This Miami offense, they're just so poor against left-handed pitching that I think this is another spot where we should see Tyler Anderson pitch really well. I think it's very likely that he's able to pitch deep into this game, probably go 6 or 7 innings. He definitely should get a quality start here. I don't see him giving up more than maybe 1 or 2 runs, if that. We don't have any odds yet on this game, but I would think the Dodgers are going to be big favorites. I mean, the Dodgers are pretty much big favorites every game they play. So there's a very good chance that Tyler Anderson will be pitching with the lead. There's a good chance he'll be able to get a win. I just think, looking at his fantasy score for today at 37 or 36.5, I think it's pretty likely that he can get 37 fantasy points here. If he goes 6 innings with 5 Ks, maybe one or 2 runs allowed, and then he gets a win, that's probably going to be enough for him to go over fantasy score. But I mean, he could pitch a shutout here. I mean, this Miami team is just so bad against lefties. Also, they're playing this game in Miami, which I think is beneficial because Miami's ballpark is definitely one of the more pitcher-friendly ballparks in the league. Really, like, all the boxes are checked for Tyler Anderson. The matchup's great. He's in a good pitching environment. I would think the Dodgers, again, we don't have odds on this game, but I would think the Dodgers are going to be big favorites. So, Anderson has a good shot at getting a win. Again, Anderson's not like this elite strikeout pitcher, but he's great at limiting damage. He's great at inducing soft contact. I mean, he has one of the lowest hard hit rates in the league. He doesn't really give up many hard hit balls. He gets a lot of ground balls. He gets a lot of soft contact, and he's just a guy that can limit damage. And obviously, with how bad this Marlins team has been against lefties, you would think this is a spot where he should be able to keep the damage to a minimal. And hopefully, with how much Miami has been striking out against lefties, we can maybe see Tyler Anderson have a decent strikeout game here, maybe 6 or 7 strikeouts. You never know. So I like his over 36.5 fantasy score. Don't mind taking his over strikeouts as well. It actually opened at 4.5. It's already been bumped up to 5, but I still don't mind taking over 5 strikeouts for Anderson. I think it's pretty likely he's able to get maybe at least 5 Ks, and at worst could push. But I think fantasy score, just factoring in everything, how deep he should be able to pitch into the game, his chances to get a win. I think fantasy score is my favorite of the two, but I like a lot of props for Tyler Anderson today. He should pitch really well against this Marlins team that has just been terrible against lefties this year. So that's the first prop I'm liking. Second prop, another guy in a very favorable matchup is Bailey Falter. He gets to face the Pirates, and I'm liking his over or taking more 31.5 fantasy score for Bailey Falter. Now, Falter, he actually did get called up from the minors for this game. Zach Wheeler was supposed to pitch today for the Phillies, but Zach Wheeler got put on the IL. So it's going to be Falter getting the start. And Falter has actually pitched pretty well as of late. He made a couple starts before he got sent back down to the minors. He pitched 6 innings in his most recent start against the Mets. Only allowed 2 hits, 2 walks, 1 run, got 3 strikeouts, finished with 34 fantasy points in a pretty tough spot against the Mets. Obviously a really good offense. And he actually did face this Pirates team back in July before he got sent down to the minors. Went 6 innings, gave up 5 hits, 2 runs, had 8 strikeouts, and finished with 40 fantasy points last time he faced Pittsburgh. Obviously, this is a very, very friendly matchup. I mean, when you look at the Pirates this year, they're also one of the worst teams in the league against left-handed pitching. They have the second highest K rate against lefties, 26.2%, and all of their offensive numbers are towards the bottom of the league. 26th in batting average, they are 29th in on-base percentage, they are 23rd in slugging. Pittsburgh ranks 26th in OPS. They're pretty much in the bottom 10, bottom 5 in every offensive metric against lefties. It's another, just weak offense. They're not a team you really fear. They're not a team you expect to put up many runs. There's plenty of strikeouts up and down this Pittsburgh lineup. Very similar to, Tyler Anderson. Bailey Falter by no means is like an elite strikeout pitcher. He has just a 20% K rate this year. But with how much this Pittsburgh team has been striking out, I mean, you look at the K rates for some of these guys. 30% K rate for Chavez, 26% for Gamble, 30% for Allen, 25% for DeLay. Sure, guys like Newman don't strike out much, 11%, Hayes, 12%. But there's other guys in here with 30+% K rates. You got multiple guys with K rates above 20%. none of these hitters you're really too worried about. I mean, you look at their numbers against lefties. 100 ISO, like Kevin Newman has no power. Brian Reynolds, he's better against right-handed pitching than he is against left-handed pitching. Brian Hayes is a solid hitter, but I mean, still, he's not a guy you really fear. Ben Gamble against lefties is not someone you're going to fear. It's a bad lineup, and it's a lineup that I think Falter can get through without giving up too many runs. I think he's pretty likely that he's able to go 6 innings, hopefully get a quality start. I know in his last few starts, like I think that start against the Mets, he did throw 80 pitches, so he's pretty much fully stretched out. He can throw 85, 90 pitches here if the Phillies decide to push him that far. But I think he can get through 6 innings, hopefully get a quality start. I think he has a very good chance at getting a win here because right now the Phillies are very big favorites in this game. They have a 5.8 implied run total, Philadelphia does, and they're minus 292 moneyline favorites. And for what it's worth, on the Pittsburgh side, Pittsburgh only has a 3.4 implied run total for today. So that basically, Vegas is showing us that obviously, Falter, they're expecting Falter to pitch well here, given that Pittsburgh only has a 3.4 implied run total. Pittsburgh's not expected to put up many runs. On the other side, the Phillies are expected to put up some runs today. They're big favorites. So if Falter can get a win and he can get those 6 points for the win, that's obviously even better. But I'm just targeting the friendly matchup here. Falter pitched really well last time he faced this Pittsburgh team. I know in general, he's not the best pitcher. His numbers are not that great, but this matchup is just so good. He showed that he can pitch well when he gets a good matchup. And I think 32 fantasy points, when you factor in strikeout upside in this matchup, you factor win equity, pretty good chance at a quality start. I think he can eclipse 32 fantasy points today. So that is going to be our second play for today. And then our third and final play, another lefty in a really good matchup. I think we targeted his over last time he pitched, if I remember correctly. That's going to be Justin Steele. We're going to be taking his over, or taking more 33.5 fantasy points for Steele going up against the Brewers. Now, the Brewers, they're not a team you would expect to be bad. Like, the Brewers have a solid lineup, but this year, man, against left-handed pitching, they've been really bad, and they're pretty much like the third worst team against lefties. Basically, Miami's the worst team. Pittsburgh's probably second worst, and then Milwaukee, they might be third worst. If you look at where Milwaukee ranks this year, they have the third highest strikeout rate, 26.1% K rate against lefties, and their offensive numbers are bad as well. 29th in batting average, so second to last. In terms of on-base percentage, Milwaukee is 24th. In terms of slugging, they are 27th. OPS, they rank 25th. ISO, they're a little bit higher up on ISO. They're 23rd. WRC+, Milwaukee ranks 26th. I mean, they're pretty much bottom 5 in every offensive metric, and obviously they have a really high strikeout rate. It's a great matchup for Justin Steele, and it's one that he just absolutely dominated in. He did face Milwaukee in his last start, and he pitched incredible, if I remember correctly. I think he went like 6 shutout innings, had, I think, double-digit strikeouts. He went 6 innings, had 9 strikeouts, gave up no runs, finished with 49 fantasy points in his last start against the Brewers. He just faced them. I don't know if we're going to get that kind of performance from Steele here, but man, Steele has been pitching really, really well lately. Had 49 fantasy points against Milwaukee, had 37 fantasy points against Washington. Faced Washington before that start, had 43 fantasy points. He faced Miami, had 44 fantasy points. So over his last 4 starts, 44, 43, 37, and 49 fantasy points for Justin Steele. He's been striking out a lot of guys as well, 10, 9, 5, and 9 strikeouts over those 4 starts. His K rate this year is up to 24.5%. So, I think definitely this is a spot where Steele can rack up some strikeouts just because of how much this Milwaukee team has been striking out against lefties. Maybe he gives up a home run to a guy like McCutcheon, or maybe Hunter Renfroe hits a home run here. But I think Steele will be able to get enough strikeouts to make up for it. I think he'll be able to go 6 innings and get a quality start like he did last game. If he gets a quality start with 4, 5, 6 strikeouts, that's probably going to be good enough for him to go over his fantasy score, assuming he doesn't give up like 3, 4, 5 runs, which, again, with how bad this Milwaukee team has been against lefties this year, I don't think this is a spot where Steele should really get blown up. He could get blown up. This is baseball we're talking about. Baseball is obviously a very volatile sport, but with how well Steele pitched in this last start against Milwaukee, with how bad Milwaukee has been against lefties this year, I think we're going to see another pretty good performance from Justin Steele, and I think this fantasy score line is definitely a few points too low. I mean, 6 innings, 4 Ks, that gets Justin Steele 34 fantasy points. Now, maybe he gives up 1 or 2 runs, but if he gets a few more strikeouts, he could still go over. Like if he goes, let's say he goes 6 innings, 6 Ks, 2 runs allowed, which I think is a pretty reasonable projection for him, that still puts him at 34 fantasy points, which would obviously be over his projection. So I definitely think 33.5 is a few points too low. I wouldn't be surprised if you actually see this line get bumped up a little bit, especially with how well Steele has pitched this year and with how good of a matchup it is. So these are the 3 plays that I'm liking for Friday night slate, guys. It's a big slate, a lot of games, a lot of props that stood out when I first took a look at the board Thursday night. Again, I'm going to provide some more plays. I'll provide those over on Patreon. If you guys do want to get access to all the additional Prizepicks plays that I'm offering, that I'm on for the day, you can check out the Patreon. It's linked down below in the description. Check that out if you are interested. But as always, good luck tonight, guys. Thanks for watching the video. Hope you did enjoy. Hit that like button before we get out of here. Hit that subscribe button too. And make sure to check out Prizepicks as well. If you have not signed up for Prizepicks yet, get over there, sign up, use promo code NOAH when you do. Prizepicks will match your first deposit up to $100 when you do sign up with my promo code. If you're going to want to be playing on Prizepicks heading into NFL season, we're going to be pumping out a ton of NFL content for Prizepicks when NFL season gets here. Going to be making videos, giving out props for all the primetime games, Monday Night Football, Thursday Night Football. Going to be covering some of my favorite props for the full Sunday main slate of games. And, it's going to be a ton of fun. And I'm super excited for NFL season, but we still got a few more weeks of MLB. Going to try and grind out some MLB these last few weeks. Hopefully make a little bit of money and hopefully cash, all 3 of our plays today. But good luck tonight, guys. Thanks for watching the video. Hope you enjoyed, and we will see you in the next one. Peace.